Shank, and this is Bloomberg Technology. Coming up, the growing social media alliance to fight fake news. The latest on the investigation into Russian interference in America's electoral process a day after Twitter visited the Capitol. Plus, Hotel Tonight opens up its booking window to a much wider audience and raises nearly $40 million in its latest funding round. CEO and co-founder Sam Shank checks in to discuss the new strategy and intensifying competition in online hospitality. And Elon Musk upgrades his commercial space dream with a new mission for rockets here on Earth. How realistic is Shanghai to New York in half an hour? We'll discuss. But first, we begin with breaking news out of Washington. Tom Price has resigned as the Health and Human Services Secretary after taking private and military jets at taxpayer expense. Alex Wayne, Bloomberg's White House editor, joins me now. Alex, this, of course, happening just in the last 20 minutes or so. You know, the latest White House scandal. What do you make of it?
Well, it's more turnover in the Trump administration after a summer that saw a series of departures from the White House itself. We're now losing our first cabinet official, Tom Price, the health secretary.
So, you know, there are other individuals who have come up who are part of the administration who may have taken flights that are questionable. Are we expecting any more of this?
Trump hasn't singled out a guy like the Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke and the way that he did Tom Price. You'll remember on Wednesday he told reporters that he was actually thinking of firing Price. Said he was very disappointed in him. He repeated that today before he got on Marine One, his helicopter, to go to Bedminster. And then just about at the same time he landed, the press release came out saying that Tom Price had resigned. I think the decision was probably made before Trump got on the plane, actually.
Price has also been in Trump's crosshairs after months of unsuccessful attempts to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. How much of that do you think impacted this ultimate turn of events?
I think Tom Price didn't have too many friends anywhere in Washington. I don't think anybody in Congress was sticking up for him. The healthcare industry certainly wasn't sticking up for him because they haven't been happy with these Obamacare repeal bills. And he couldn't help get any of those bills over the finish line. This most recent one, Graham Cassidy, Tom Price really hadn't been involved at all in that debate. So I think that was weighing on the president's mind as he made this decision, in addition to the egregious abuse of taxpayer dollars in these private plane flights.
All right. Well, Don Wright has been named acting secretary. Of course, this is something we'll continue to follow. Bloomberg's Alex Wayne joining us there from Washington. Alex, thank you, as always. Sticking in Washington, Twitter presented its findings on Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election, both to the House and Senate Intelligence Committees Thursday, and lawmakers aren't pleased. Take a listen to Democratic Senator Mark Warner.
And again, begs many more questions than they offered. Their response was, frankly, inadequate on almost every level.
In a blog post, Twitter announced it disabled 22 accounts after reviewing information from Facebook showing connections to 450 bogus accounts on the social network. Twitter also revealed an additional 179 related accounts and took action on those that it says violated its rules. Joining me now to discuss this as well as the latest news in Facebook's fight against fake news and election meddling, Jamil Jaffer, the founder of the National Security Institute at George Mason Law School. Before that, Jamil Jaffer was the former chief counsel and senior advisor to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Also with me, Bloomberg's Kevin Whitelaw, who heads Bloomberg's congressional coverage in Washington. Kevin, I want to start with you. All of this unfolded Thursday on Capitol Hill. What's sort of the fallout today in terms of, Twitter's perceived sort of inadequacy in dealing with all of this?
Well, I do think, listening to Senator Warner talk last night, he was really upset. And he was upset about sort of not getting a lot of information. But I think what he was really upset about was the sense that Twitter hasn't actually worked all that hard to understand what actually happened on its network during the period of the U.S. election. And it's a complaint he's also had about Facebook, that these companies haven't really done the full amount of work to begin to figure out just what level of manipulation or other things might have occurred. And so, basically the Twitter presentation was mostly derivative of what the work that Facebook did, as well as looking at sort of what one Russian outlet did in terms of ad spending. So pretty minimal. And so I think that there's going to be a lot of follow-up questions. There's a lot of pressure. We're told that they're eyeing that Facebook, Twitter, and Google have all been invited for a November 1 hearing in public before the Senate Intelligence Committee, and I think that if they don't have some more detailed answers by then, it could be a pretty uncomfortable hearing for them.
Right, there's concern that Facebook didn't act soon enough, and now we see Twitter doing its work mostly off of Facebook's disclosures. Jamil, how significant is this?
Well, look, I think it's a big deal. I mean, these are serious folks, Mark Warner at the Senate Intelligence Committee and Adam Schiff at the House Intelligence Committee. And as Kevin points out, they're being invited up for a hearing in early November. The House has announced a hearing in October. So there's going to be a lot of attention to this. And, look, Facebook and Google alone make up 20% of global ad spend. And all three of these companies, Facebook, Twitter, and Google, are all the top 30 of global media owners. So this is a big deal in the sense that these ads can have some impact. And the question is, can these companies regulate themselves, or is the government necessary to step in?
FireEye found that fake accounts on Twitter allowed hashtags like war against Democrats, hashtag Hillary down to trend on Twitter. I wonder, Kevin, that could there be so much more that Twitter has yet to uncover?
Well, that's certainly what it seems like, and then there's a bit of a question about what capacity Twitter actually has to even be able to investigate this and understand it. Obviously, that service grants a certain amount of anonymity to begin with, but there are some questions about how deeply they really want to look and uncover this and test the strength of their algorithms. I mean, these are communities that are built on being sort of automatic and self-correcting in a sense, but to the degree they're supposed to be able to adapt to things, there's a lot of room to take advantage of them, it certainly seems like. And so then there's the question of whether these companies really want to look too hard to understand how they can be abused in the same way that they can also be used for good.
So, Jamil, what is the responsibility of these social networks?
Well, look, I think it's important that they try to do the right thing here. I think Kevin is right that, it's hard to know what their capabilities are right now, but they need to figure it out, because if they don't, they're going to face regulation. And the truth is, regulation is bad for the economy. It's bad for technology because it just can't keep up. Expecting laws and regulations to keep up with the speed of technology in the valley is crazy. And so really, it's important that the companies figure it out, work together with the government, and find a rational path forward, because if not, regulation will be coming, and they don't want that. It's bad for technology and bad for innovation here in the United States.
I'm looking at a news story out from Recode about a similar investigation that is happening at Google. Haven't heard about ads on Google yet, or even Snapchat. I mean, Kevin, do we think that this issue could expand to many more mediums?
Well, we do know that Google has received invitations from the Senate committee. We expect the House committee will also be reaching out to Google. We know there have been some level of conversations between the panels and that company, and so it's a little unclear exactly which parts of that sprawling Google empire that they'd be looking at. But you can certainly look around at not just Google ads, but YouTube and other things, and say that there's probably a fair amount of potential for manipulation to have been done here. I do think the key thing here is going to be all of these companies kind of act like media companies, but they don't take sort of the same proactive level of responsibility about what's on their site as, say, a media company does. So they want to act like these companies. They want to make the money, advertising and other things, but they haven't actually taken quite the same level of control or responsibility over what's on there. So really, really tough questions ahead for these companies about what exactly their role is here, both in the economy but also in a democracy.
Mark Zuckerberg has apologized, and yet at the same time, he has, cautioned that Facebook can't sway an election entirely. But I wonder, Jamil, do you think some of this new information reveals that social media could have, in fact, played a critical role in swaying the election in Trump's favor, or is that a stretch?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a stretch for the following reason. One, I think that what you see going on here, you've talked, at least what we've seen thus far is hundreds of thousands of dollars of spend and thousands of accounts. We're talking about millions of accounts on these services. We're talking about billions of dollars of ad spend. So it's a drop in the bucket compared to the overall larger scheme. But I do think this is an area of some danger for these companies. And I think that they're trying to, you see Facebook trying to do the right thing, trying to correct the situation. But, you know, clearly the Senate Intelligence Committee doesn't think that Twitter's done enough, and they need to get up to speed. And really, I think what these companies need to do is be more proactive. You know, post-Snowden, there's been a real sort of separation between D.C. and the Valley, and a lot of people are trying to bring these folks back together. It's important they do that, because if the companies and government can't work together effectively, whether it's on this or on encryption or law enforcement surveillance or the like, we're going to see a real problem, and we're going to see Congress, you know, getting involved. And I don't think the companies, I don't think it's good for the economy or innovation in our economy.
All right, Jamil, Jaffer, George Mason University, Bloomberg's Kevin Whitelaw, thank you both for joining us. Obviously, something we are going to continue to follow. Well, SoftBank is branching out from its roots, the Japanese firm eyeing further acquisitions in the financial sector in order to potentially create a $300 billion asset management arm that would also house its $93 billion vision fund for tech investments. That's according to people familiar with the matter. In February, the firm acquired Fortress Investment Group for $3.3 billion, and it's considering additional investments in the financial sector. Coming up, Hotel Tonight expands its booking window from last minute to 100 days. CEO Shank joins for an exclusive conversation. This is Bloomberg. Bain Capital's consortium plans to take Toshiba's flash memory unit public in 2 to 3 years after the $18 billion acquisition of its business. People familiar with the matter say the precise timing of the IPO will depend on the unit's finances and market conditions and could change substantially. Well, Hotel Tonight is beefing up its competition with Expedia. The company recently announced it is expanding its booking window to 100 days. This coming after Hotel Tonight closed a $37 million Series E funding round backed by Excel to expand its international presence. Joining us now in an exclusive interview, Shank, CEO and co-founder of Hotel Tonight. So started out as Hotel Tonight, then it became Hotel This Week, and now Hotel in 3 months.
That's
Why
right.
the change?
Well, when we started, we saw this opportunity in mobile, and we saw that the world was going to move to mobile, but mobile was only 1% of all hotel bookings. So we focused on what was like this mobile, inherently mobile problem of I need a hotel right now, that you didn't have your computer anymore. And we really had great product market fit there, invented a whole new category, expanded then into a broader definition of last minute. And now mobile's mainstream, and people say, our customers are telling us that they want to do all of their bookings on Hotel Tonight, not just their last minute bookings. And then likewise, the hotels said, we love you guys, we love the ease of use, we love the customers you're sending, and we want to do more. And we responded to the needs of our customers.
Now, I'm excited. You know, I've asked you, I have 3 kids. I can't book last minute like this, so I can see how it can reach a broader audience. Is part of this a result of the threat from other online accommodation sites, whether it's Airbnb or HomeAway, non-hotel accommodations that are now much more popular?
Yeah, I don't think it's a response to the threat at all. I think this is an opportunity for us, and our business is very healthy, we're profitable, and we decided that we could expand and serve our customers better. And the other reason for doing this is there hasn't been much innovation from the big online travel agencies. If you look over the past 10 years, most of the focus of their teams on the product side has been on improving conversion rate and improving marketing efficiency, not in serving the needs of their customers. And that's a really good opportunity for us. We're very product focused, we have a ton of innovation, and we're going to use that structural advantage to really provide a great service for consumers.
Some of the big agencies, I mean, they've been very active in M&A. They've bought companies like HomeAway, for example. Could you bring on non-hotel properties onto Hotel Tonight, or is that not something that you would consider?
Yeah, I think that the word hotel now means roof over your head. Mm-hmm. And I think for us, one of the things we do, we don't work with every hotel partner. We work with only the partners that provide a level of service that we feel good about. And we'll even not work with a hotel after a period of time if the review score is low. And that's very different than our competition. So it makes it easier to use Hotel Tonight and gives you just a better experience. Likewise for alternative accommodations or for guest houses or condos, we would want to work with places that are personally vetted and that we feel good about putting people in.
There's been some speculation that Uber could be an interesting acquirer for Hotel Tonight, especially now that the former CEO of a big online travel agency is now CEO of Uber. Any possibility there?
I think Dara is just fantastic. I mean, we've known each other for a long time as sort of co-opetition and in similar roles. And he is, what people don't realize is that he was a banker first, but he's also a really great product guy and really gets product very well. He's the right guy to run Uber. I can't wait to see what he's going to do. So
no plans to sell? What about to Uber or Airbnb or anyone? I mean, there's a lot of M&A happening. So, and your name comes up.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to what the team has done and the quality and the value that we provide to customers that our name does get mentioned, and it's certainly an honor that that comes up. But what I'm focused on is what we can control, and every day is providing innovation and just building a great service. So
why not participate in the M&A? Like, why go it alone? What is it about? Because given all of these trends happening in the industry, you know, what do you see as the potential?
Well, for us, it's about building a great alternative and the mobile-first alternative to the legacy online travel agencies. And we're not an OTA, which is the online travel agencies. We're something different, and we're born on mobile, and we're for the mobile era. And it is a massive, massive market that hasn't had innovation and hasn't had a lot of disruption on the hotel side in a long time. And we're just excited to bring it. What sort of trends are you seeing in travel different from years past? Well, one of the things that's happening is people are really going towards this boutique inventory or independent inventory, which combines, on one hand, what's great about a hotel stay or a traditional chain hotel stay, the consistency and security, but also the uniqueness and the sort of quirkiness and the unique storytelling, if you will, of a homestay or a shared guest room. And so that's where we're concentrating. And I see that all of the big brands are even spending money on building boutique inventory, but what we really like is those great independent hotels that tell a great story. So, staying independent, any progress on the IPO that you have promised? I didn't think I promised it, but I think it certainly is a possibility for us, and it's, again, like it's very flattering that that's an opportunity for us and speaks a lot to what the team has done. And again, it's not something that I think about every day. I think about what do we need to grow, and if the company's in the right place and if the market's in the right place, it's something we definitely consider. And you've got a few new launch cities, but you're expecting this 100-day window to be available everywhere, ultimately? Yep, absolutely. This is the new normal for Hotel Tonight. All right, hotel in 100 days or less. That's right. Sam Shank, CEO of Hotel Tonight, thank you so much for stopping by. All right, coming up, it is another blow for Bitcoin after South Korea cracks down on the cryptocurrency. We'll hear from former U.S. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew, who weighs in on the Bitcoin debate. This is Bloomberg. Bitcoin and Ethereum dropped after South Korea banned domestic initial coin offerings. It is the second major blow to cryptocurrencies this month after China similarly banned ICOs and then later all cryptocurrency trading. Prosecutors in South Korea recently caught 4 would-be cryptocurrency traders who illegally raised $22 million from 1,000 investors in a pyramid scheme. Former U.S. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew spoke to Bloomberg in an exclusive interview and weighed in on cryptocurrencies.
I actually spent a fair amount of time thinking about these virtual currencies and try to keep my mind open to innovation and change. You think about innovation in the financial sector, it comes through things that happen in a kind of disruptive way. That's how you get checking accounts. It's how you get credit cards. So I'm reluctant to say, oh, new things are bad. I had some special concerns about virtual currencies, partially because of the secrecy factor. We worry about large cash transactions because large cash transactions can be used for bad purposes. You create something that makes it easy to do that, and it has those same characteristics. We decided to treat the virtual currencies like currencies for the purpose of trying to keep track of them, but it's hard. I also worried about it being used as a means of storing value because when I made comparisons to tulip prices, I was urged not to do so publicly as Treasury Secretary, but it did cross my mind to say that at the time. I mean, I personally wouldn't store my kind of savings in something that unpredictable, and I don't know how many unsophisticated investors are doing that. I think one of the things you've seen with these currencies, because of their anonymity and ease of movement, is that, you know, in a country like China, where people want to get their money out of the country, it's become an easy mechanism to do so. I think that's why you're seeing China now clamp down a little bit on things like Bitcoin. I mean, I kind of end on this where I started, which is, you know, the technology behind Bitcoin, you know, blockchain, is now being appropriated by the mainstream financial sector to cause the kind of improvements in processing and improvements in safety that are going to be really good. That's not the same as, you know, should you store your wealth in Bitcoin. You know, I think you have to separate out the technology question from the application.
That was former U.S. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew. All right, coming up, UK Prime Minister Theresa May goes against the ban to stop Uber from operating in the capital. Can this help the CEO get a leg up in reversing the decision when he travels to London next week? This is Bloomberg.
I'm Mark Crumpton in New York. You're watching Bloomberg Technology. Let's begin with a check of first word news. U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Tom Price has resigned. A White House statement says President Trump accepted Secretary Price's resignation Friday. Price's travel itinerary came under scrutiny after it emerged he frequently used military and charter planes. The tab is reportedly in excess of $1 million. Meanwhile, President Trump told reporters earlier Friday that the Obama administration, quote, spent a lot of time in the air. But President Obama's Treasury Secretary Jack Lew disputed that during an interview with Bloomberg Television.
Government planes are provided when the mission requires it, and I used them for international travel and domestic travel that was attended. I'd often, on my way, give a speech, on my way to Asia, give a speech on the West Coast, or stop somewhere on the East Coast on the way back. But I never used military aircraft for domestic travel.
And there is word President Trump intends to designate Deputy Assistant Health Secretary Don J. Wright to replace Price. In a statement today, Price called it an honor and privilege to serve. The deadline is approaching for young immigrants who want to renew their paperwork under an Obama-era program that shields them from deportation. President Trump is phasing out the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, DACA, and asking Congress to come up with a replacement. People in the program whose permits expire between now and March have until Thursday to get renewals. The president's open to negotiating the deduction individuals take for state and local taxes. His top economic advisor, Gary Cohn, spoke to Bloomberg.
Our plan at this point does not allow for deductions of state and local taxes. We are willing to work with the tax writers on the other dials that we have in the system.
The deduction is used in high-tax states like New York, New Jersey, and California. Eliminating it would raise an estimated $1.3 trillion that could be used to offset the plan's proposed tax cuts. A 12th patient from a Florida nursing home that lost its air conditioning in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma has died. The Broward County Medical Examiner's Office has confirmed the death of a 57-year-old patient. A criminal investigation is underway following the deaths of patients at the Rehabilitation Center at Hollywood Hills. European Union officials have ruled out mediating the clash between Spain's government and Catalan officials over the upcoming independence referendum. A parliament member says it is a Spanish problem. Catalan officials have asked the EU to mediate the standoff ahead of Sunday's planned vote. Global News 24 hours a day. I'm Mark Crumpton in New York.
This is Bloomberg Technology. I'm Emily Chang. While Apple is facing a production snag on its highly anticipated iPhone 10, Amazon is stepping up its hardware game with new offerings for the Echo. The news lines up with analyst sentiment. Check out this chart in the Bloomberg #BTV5254. Analysts are the most bullish on Amazon in purple, giving it the most bullish price target above big cap tech stocks like Apple, Google, Facebook, and Netflix. I caught up with Bloomberg tech reporters Mark Gurman and Eric Newcomer and talked about Amazon and Apple's hardware plans, as well as other headlines grabbing our attention this week.
I was at Amazon's headquarters for the first time, one of their big office buildings in Seattle, and they announced so many new devices in the Echo family, Alexa products. The star of the show was this product called the Echo Spot. I actually want one myself. It's these $130 little speakers. It's about the size of this top of the cup. It's like the size, a little bit bigger than an Apple Watch, and it gives you the weather, it's an alarm clock, the time. You can make phone calls on it. You can make video chat calls. It's awesome, and I'm a little surprised that Amazon was the first of this because this seems like it's going to be a hit there.
And how does this stand out from the Echo and other home speakers in general?
Right, so this one is meant to be a communications device for your nightstand that also doubles as a voice speaker. You can see a picture of it on the screen right now. And they also have this new Echo Plus model, which is a discounted price. It's $150 versus $180 of the original. And it has a built-in smart home hub, so you can easily connect with your voice, things like lights and thermostats, garage door locks to your Echo speaker.
So let's talk about Apple and the iPhone 10 production issues. What do we know?
Right.
How is this going to delay phones? Is this going to mean a significant number of people who want that phone on the first day can't get it?
Right. This is a no-brainer situation. It's completely obvious, and of course, this is what's happening. Anytime Apple announces a product and there's a big space of time in between the announcement and the release, that means there's clearly a delay going on. There's clearly issues with production. So this is an obvious thing. There's no way that Apple would have announced a November 3rd date if they weren't confident they could at least get some units in store and out to customers who pre-ordered on that day.
But do you think that a significant number of people who want it won't be getting it that day? Like, will the supply constraints be more pronounced than in previous years?
Oh, absolutely. The second this thing goes on sale, like if you don't order this by 12:02 a.m. Pacific time on pre-order night, you're not getting it on November 3rd. This is something that usually happens with major new iPhone releases. The stores used to crash immediately at launch. It hasn't happened in the last few years. They really upped their game on the server side, but I think we're going to see a lot of people trying to order this thing at the same time.
All right, Eric, now to Uber.
Yes.
Obviously, we know the Transport for London has revoked Uber's license in London, and now the Prime Minister, Theresa May, has actually stood up for Uber, saying that the ban is actually disproportionate. Tell us what happened.
Right. So first of all, Uber is still operating in London as this whole thing's being appealed and reviewed. You know, Sadiq Khan is Labour Party, Labour Party sort of player, and then we have Theresa May, you know, the Conservative Party. So we've got a little bit of a political tension with Uber sort of in the middle of it. And Uber's CEO, Dara Khosrowshahi, is going to London, trying to sort of make peace here, and this is a top priority of his to get along with London and try to make sure that Uber remains operational in one of its most profitable, important cities. So it's a big deal for Uber, but I think they've really grabbed the bull by the horns and seem to be, like when the Prime Minister comes out to support you, it seems like you have some political supporters in the country.
We also know the CEO of Uber, Dara Khosrowshahi, is going to be in London next week to try to work things out.
Right.
Are you expecting immediate progress or an agreement in short order?
You know, we'll see. I think, you know, he's struck a very contrite tone. We've made mistakes, so maybe there's certain reforms that they could make to try and signal stronger change here. I think, you know, from where I sit, it seems hard to believe that Uber ever shuts down in London, because I mean, you know, there are 3 million some riders. People would be very upset, even for a couple days, to go without an Uber. If you're someone who commutes to work on Uber or depends on it, if your government's taking it away, I imagine that would be pretty frustrating and a dangerous political move.
And also thousands of drivers relying on this for income. Lastly, I do want to talk to you about the status of the SoftBank deal. Right. SoftBank has been working on a potential investment in Uber for some time. Right. The negotiations have become quite contentious. Right. And a lot of it has to do with how much power Travis Kalanick continues to hold at the company. What's the latest?
So governance has always been this central issue in the role of Travis. So basically what's happened is Benchmark and its other early investors have been demanding from SoftBank some sort of assurance that Travis can't come back as CEO, can't be the chairman of the board, or even a chair of the subcommittee. Now, what's happened recently is that SoftBank has indicated verbally that they're willing to put some sort of constraints on Travis's leadership. The amount that that's sort of going to be in writing, or where it's going to take place, and what form, I think that's still sort of being negotiated as the deal itself is coming together. But
and does Travis have the power to veto that?
Well, so right now Travis has 3 board seats out of 11, though 2 of them aren't appointed. He has lots of the actual control of the company is very sort of ambiguous and contentious, but he doesn't totally control the board, and Benchmark and its investors have a lot of power, and this is sort of a multi-party deal where there's a lot of leverage on every side trying to get it done to clean up some of the governance and get the money and get, it's a complicated deal going on right now.
My conversation earlier with Bloomberg Tech's Eric Newcomer and Mark Gurman. Well, Facebook is testing facial recognition technology, according to a report from TechCrunch. The feature will allow users who are locked out of their account to regain access. Remember, Facebook already uses facial recognition technology to give suggestions for tagging friends in photos. Coming up, the applications for AI technology seem to be endless. Now startups are applying this field to the job hunt. We'll speak to one company doing just that next. And this weekend on Bloomberg TV, we will bring you our best interviews from the week, including Ellen Pao talking about her new book, Reset, and what she sees as the biggest challenges combating gender equality in tech. Tune in this Saturday for the best of Bloomberg Tech. This is Bloomberg. The Equifax board has formed a committee to review the stock sales that executives made just days after the company was hacked in July. This according to a letter submitted to the U.S. House Energy Commerce Committee by the company's outside lawyers. The 3 executives unloaded shares worth almost $1.8 million. Equifax has said the managers were unaware of the breach at the time of the sale. Well, the field of artificial intelligence is disrupting an industry worth billions of dollars, connecting employers with job seekers. Entelo helps recruiters search social media to find employment candidates with much more specificity than some other companies, perhaps like LinkedIn. For more on how AI is shaking up recruiting, we're joined by Bischke, CEO of Entelo. So how is AI shaking up recruiting?
Well, fundamentally, recruiting is a matching challenge. If you're an employer, you're looking for the right person for the role. If you're an individual, you want to have the best job. And if you think about artificial intelligence and machine learning, we're going to be able to do a much better job matching. I mean, think about Amazon finding you your next thing to purchase. Think about Spotify, the next song you should listen to. AI will tell you increasingly what the next job is that you should take.
So you have clients from Facebook to GE to Target. Everyone's saying that AI is their big focus. They're integrating AI into their platforms. What makes yours so much better than a LinkedIn?
Well, I think for starters, one of the things that we've done since we started the company is we look for data wherever that data might exist. So we've crawled the web, we've indexed information, we've looked for things that people might be doing online that might lead you to believe that they've got a certain skill set. And so we believe that the amount of data on the web is just exploding right now, but you need technology that allows you to process that information and ultimately make it simple, and that's really what we're trying to achieve.
Fortune highlighted a report from Deloitte saying that some 75 startups are scrambling for a piece of the $100 billion HR assessment market. How do you stay ahead of the competition?
Well, it starts with people. You have to build a great team. We have an incredible team of people that are working on this problem. It's also focus, and so we obsess all day long about how do we help our customers to find the best people. It's ultimately about ROI, and if you invest in a piece of software, you need to know that that software is going to help you make hires. So we're obsessively focused on that. I think that's key to success.
I interviewed Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, recently. We spoke about AI. There's a big debate going on right now about the dangers of AI. For example, Elon Musk, saying we should be concerned about robots taking over the world. Mark Zuckerberg saying that's irresponsible, it's fear-mongering. Take a listen to what Nadella had to say to me.
With any new technology, there is a lot of good that comes with it, and we should first grab hold of it and then be clear-eyed about any unintended consequences.
I followed up that with a question. So robots could take over the world, but hopefully not. He said, yes, it's up to us to make sure they don't. I mean, what do you think about the real danger?
I think one of the things, there clearly are dystopian scenarios. We've all seen The Terminator. We know this could end poorly. If there's anything that's going to happen, it's going to be a ways off in terms of overall impact on society. But what we see right now is AI is helping people today. And if you think about all the improvements in our lives that are happening behind the scenes, whether it's Alexa or Siri or Uber or Lyft getting to you more quickly, these are all powered by AI. So I think there's definitely things to be concerned about way off into the future. But in the present moment, AI is helping people live better lives.
You guys have some interesting visibility into trends in the tech industry, what kind of companies are doing well, what kind of companies are seeing attrition. Where are you seeing employees gravitating towards, and where are you seeing them flee? Yeah,
well, it tracks roughly to some of the venture cycles. So 3 or 4 years ago, online commerce was a huge cycle where venture investors were investing lots of money. Now you've seen that fall out of favor. There are clearly great online commerce companies. On demand, Uber and Lyft are doing incredibly well. Some of the other on-demand companies.
Even in the midst of the cultural issues, the big investigation at Uber?
They're still some of the fastest growing companies in the history of the world.
Really?
So, maybe the luster has come off, but at the same time, you see these companies posting numbers that are mind-boggling. And many people are trying to get in with those companies because they recognize that these companies could be much bigger than they are today. So what we tend to track is what are the companies out there that are doing the most hiring, and then who are the people that are in the most demand at those companies, and then how do we provide a bridge between those two worlds?
So who are the people in the most demand? What skills are people
looking for? We'll come back to this topic of AI, but if you have AI skills today, data science, machine learning, that's key, right, to success. Engineers, designers, any technology skills, but also people who are in industries where those industries are becoming more technical. So for example, in marketing is becoming more of a technical skill set. And so if you have technical marketing skills, you're in more demand than you've ever been.
It's been, a couple years now since Microsoft bought LinkedIn, a year or so. Has anything changed when it comes to the competitive landscape with LinkedIn under the Microsoft umbrella?
Yeah, we try to focus mostly on what we do, but obviously, from our perspective, a lot of the customers, there's just uncertainty in the market. Whenever you have acquisitions and consolidation, everyone's wondering what's next. And LinkedIn has been bought in our space, Monster has been bought, CareerBuilder's been bought. There's a lot of companies out there that are no longer standalone entities. And when that happens, it does create a lot of confusion, and then people start looking around at what are the other companies I should be working with.
So what's Entelo's plan?
Well, we're going to keep growing. We're going to keep helping our customers out. We're going to launch a new product on Monday in this whole world of AI and recruiting, and we're excited about it. I think this industry is going through a lot of change right now. It's fun to be at the forefront of that change.
All right, John Bischke, CEO of Entelo. Great to have you back here on the show, John. All right, coming up, Elon Musk's next big idea. This time, he wants to make traveling across the world something you could do while watching just one episode of Game of Thrones. Next, this is Bloomberg.
This stock, probably more than almost any other, is a poster child for the hopes and dreams of this bull market.
Well, after announcing it is creating a second U.S.-based headquarters, Amazon is now looking overseas for even more office space. The e-commerce giant is searching for office space in Dublin, Ireland that could hold as many as 800 employees. It's according to people familiar with the matter. The space could be as large as 80,000 square feet. Last year, Amazon said it would bring another 500 jobs to Ireland, adding to more than its 1,400 people in Dublin. Well, billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk has a new vision. He wants to get you anywhere on Earth in just under 1 hour. Take a listen.
The great thing about going to space is there's no friction. So once you're out of the atmosphere, you will go, it will be smooth as silk, no turbulence, nothing. There's no weather, there's no atmosphere. And you can get to most long distance places, like I said, in less than half an hour. And if we're building this thing to go to the moon and Mars, then why not go to other places on Earth as well?
The SpaceX founder told a crowd in Australia that he's planning to build a new rocket ship called BFR that could theoretically take you from New York to Shanghai in about 30 minutes. Sounds expensive, right? Well, not according to Musk, who told his followers on Instagram that, quote, cost per seat should be about the same as a full-fare economy flight in an aircraft. Forgot to mention that. Joining me now to discuss, Dana Hull, who covers SpaceX and Tesla for Bloomberg. So he's talked about flights to Mars before. What makes this different?
So this was sort of Mars version 2.0. He gave his first big Mars speech a year ago at the same kind of gathering of space folks in Guadalajara. This was his second speech. And what's different is that he's sort of shelved the plans to create the Red Dragon, which was supposed to go to Mars next year. Now they're building a newer rocket that can do everything. It can go to the moon, it can go to Mars, it can also take you from New York to Shanghai in half an hour. So basically SpaceX is putting all of its R&D efforts into developing this new rocket.
So this is his first sort of shot at the commercial airline industry, right?
Yeah, and I don't think anybody saw that coming. I mean, we were expecting to hear, more about the timeline and how they're going to fund it. Basically, he's going to fund it by flying you across the world faster than jet travel. And according to him, it will be like a smooth as silk experience because you're actually going to go up out of the Earth's atmosphere and then come back.
So this is not just for travel between planets, it's between cities.
Yes.
So, how realistic is this? We have to ask.
Well, I think what's really interesting about Elon is that plenty of people will say, this is ridiculous, this is never going to happen. Why are you giving ink to this crazy guy? At the same time, people said the same thing about creating a rocket that was reusable, and SpaceX has done that. So he often misses his own very ambitious timelines, but he also ultimately usually does what he sets out to do. It might not be quite as fast as he wants, but he can ultimately do it. So I think people are excited about the possibility.
So let's talk about the timeline. What is it? And what is the realistic timeline, let's say?
So he is saying that the thing about getting to Mars is that it's very far away from Earth, and you have to kind of go there when Earth and Mars are close together in terms of orbit. So the earliest that we could send an exploratory mission to Mars is 2022. The earliest that we could send people to Mars is 2024. Presumably this Earth thing will happen earlier than that, but he wasn't clear on that timing.
Now, we've been talking a lot about VC-backed space ventures, and of course there are other companies like Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic. Are any of them trying to do something similar?
Not that we've heard of. I mean, the competition has really been in the launch space, basically competing for contracts to launch commercial satellites. This is the first that we've heard SpaceX talking about flying human passengers here on Earth.
So how does this fit into Elon's overall vision of the future of transportation, whether it's rockets or Hyperloop or electric and self-driving cars?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how they all fit together. My sense is that if you live in the United States, or if you live anywhere and you're trying to get from city to city, like New York to Washington, D.C., you would use the Hyperloop. But if you want to get from New York to Shanghai, or if you're hopping continents, then you might need to take this rocket ship instead. And what's interesting is that he spoke in Australia, where many of the people had flown 15 hours to get there. And when he sort of unveiled this at the end of his presentation, apparently he got a rousing applause. So people are interested in being able to get places faster. And
what is the latest on Hyperloop? I mean, this is he had said he wasn't going to be involved in it. Now he seems to be more involved in it. The tunneling and all that.
Right.
What is the actual?
Yeah, our colleague Sarah McBride has really done a great job of that. It sounds to me like the Boring Company and Hyperloop and SpaceX are all part of the same grand vision of making transportation easier. How they all fit together, I'm not entirely clear. It sounds like they're talking to cities, but it's very difficult to get all the different permits to actually do this.
All right, well, we'll be watching for more tweets from Elon over the weekend. Dana Hull, who covers SpaceX and Tesla for us, thank you so much for that update. That does it for this edition of Bloomberg Technology. This Monday, we will be speaking with Oracle CEO Mark Hurd from the Oracle Open World Conference. And a reminder, we are live streaming on Twitter. Check us out at Bloomberg Tech TV, weekdays 5 p.m. in New York, 2 p.m. in San Francisco. That is all for now. This is Bloomberg.